Welcome. You're about to embark on a journey that will transform the way your mind thinks, acts, and creates opportunity. This is not just another self-help story or motivational talk. This is a roadmap, a deep dive into the science, strategies, and real-life practices that train your brain to think, decide, and act like the most successful minds in the world. In the next several hours, you'll hear stories of ordinary people like you, who rewired their brains for focus, emotional mastery, opportunity recognition, and disciplined action. You'll learn how to convert stress into clarity, hesitation into decisive power, and small daily actions into monumental results. So take a deep breath, prepare your mind, turn off distractions, and step into the mental architecture of wealth, influence, and lasting power. Because the journey you're about to take is about more than success. It's about becoming the person who naturally attracts it. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Have you ever noticed how some people, seemingly out of nowhere, attract opportunities, wealth, and influence effortlessly, while others work tirelessly yet struggle to make progress? It's not luck. It's not just timing. It's their mindset, the way their brain has been wired over years of habits, beliefs, and decisions. And here's the exciting truth. If their mind can achieve this, yours can too. Right now, in this very moment, you have the power to rewire your brain, to shift the neural patterns that govern your habits, your thoughts, and your outcomes. Consider Sarah, a marketing executive in Chicago. For years, she worked 12-hour days, answering emails, running campaigns, and attending meetings. She was competent, dedicated, and consistent, but she always felt like she was on a treadmill, moving fast yet getting nowhere. One day, after attending a seminar on cognitive performance and wealth psychology, she began to notice her own thought patterns. She realized that she had been conditioned to fear risk, doubt her capabilities, and undervalue her time. Her brain, like most of ours, had been running on autopilot, reinforcing beliefs that kept her safe but also small. Changing her brain wasn't about working harder. It was about thinking differently. She started small, visualizing her ideal career outcomes each morning, writing down every accomplishment, even minor ones, and reframing obstacles as opportunities for growth. Within months, her confidence shifted, and she began pitching innovative campaigns to leadership. One of those pitches turned into a $2 million client account. What changed? Sarah didn't suddenly become smarter or luckier. She rewired her mind to see possibilities where before she saw limits. The science behind this is both fascinating and empowering. Our brains are plastic, meaning they can grow and reorganize themselves. Neural pathways, the connections between neurons, are strengthened every time we repeat a thought, emotion, or behavior. The problem is, most people's brains are wired for survival, comfort, and repetition, not for bold success. They have reinforced patterns of scarcity, fear, and procrastination. The solution? Intentional rewiring through practices that align your subconscious mind with the life you want to create. One technique that often gets overlooked is the power of questioning your beliefs. Think about it. How often do you challenge your assumptions about money, success, or your own potential? If you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not cut out for this," or "people like me don't get ahead," pause. These thoughts are not truths. They are patterns, wires in your brain that have been reinforced over time. Challenge them. Ask, what if this isn't true? What if I can learn, adapt, and thrive? This simple shift forces your brain to build new pathways that support growth rather than limitation. Let's bring this closer to home. Picture a corporate office, a place most of us know well. You have two employees with identical skills and education. Employee constantly worries about office politics, doubts her abilities, and hesitates to speak up in meetings. Employee B actively seeks challenges, frames mistakes as lessons, and visualizes her long-term goals daily. Which one do you think gets promoted faster? It's not just luck. It's the wiring of their mind. Employee B has trained her brain to notice opportunities, take calculated risks, and assert her value. Employee A's brain is trapped in a loop of doubt and fear, reinforcing her stagnation. Now, consider relationships. Your mental wiring doesn't just affect work. It impacts every interaction. How often do we unconsciously attract people who validate our existing mindset? People who reinforce doubt or scarcity? If your brain is trained to anticipate limitation, it will unconsciously seek environments and relationships that confirm it. Conversely, when you actively rewire your mind toward abundance, positivity, and empowerment, you begin attracting mentors, collaborators, and friends who mirror that energy. The brain doesn't just change itself, it subtly changes the world around you. Here's a practical, simple exercise to start rewiring today. Every evening, write down 3 decisions you made that align with your goals, and 3 moments where you acted against your own potential. Reflect honestly. Then, for the missed opportunities, mentally rehearse how you could respond differently next time. Your brain doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. It strengthens neural pathways through repeated mental simulation. By intentionally practicing success in your imagination, you train your brain to recognize and act upon it in reality. Another powerful tool is emotional tagging. Our brains are wired to remember emotionally charged experiences far more than neutral ones. When you link positive emotions, pride, excitement, gratitude to achievements, learning, and goal-oriented actions, your brain becomes motivated to repeat those behaviors. Conversely, if you associate fear or shame with ambition, your brain will naturally avoid the very things that lead to growth. By consciously tagging success with positive feelings, you create an internal reward system that propels your progress. Think of it like upgrading software on your computer. The old version runs slowly, reacts based on outdated instructions, and crashes when faced with new challenges. Rewiring your brain is like installing a premium, optimized operating system, one that allows speed, efficiency, creativity, and resilience. And the best part? You don't need to wait for a life-changing event to start. The rewiring begins with tiny, deliberate choices. What you focus on, the words you speak to yourself, the habits you reinforce daily. Remember this. Wealth and power aren't just about money or influence. They are about mental alignment. Align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the outcomes you desire. The rich, successful, and influential are not inherently smarter. They simply possess minds conditioned to seek opportunities, embrace challenges, and persist despite setbacks. You can cultivate the same wiring by taking consistent, deliberate steps each day. Take a moment now. Close your eyes and visualize the life you want. The financial freedom, the professional influence, the impact on your community, the personal growth. Notice how your brain reacts. Does doubt creep in? Resistance? That's normal. But instead of letting it dictate your actions, observe it, acknowledge it, and mentally redirect toward possibility, confidence, and expansion. Each time you do this, your brain strengthens pathways that make wealth and power more accessible. By committing to this mental rewiring, you're not chasing fantasy. You're engineering your reality. You're building a mind capable of strategic thinking, emotional mastery, and consistent action, all essential for creating tangible success. And the journey is cumulative. Each new thought, each reframed belief, each deliberate action compounds over time, creating momentum that propels you forward. As you move forward from this moment, remember this. Your brain is both your most loyal ally and your most stubborn obstacle. The difference lies in intentional practice. Every time you choose thoughts that expand, every time you imagine possibilities beyond your current circumstances, and every time you act in alignment with your goals, you strengthen the neural foundation of a life defined by wealth, power, and influence. Your mind will always believe everything you tell it. Feed it hope, feed it truth, feed it power. Imagine this. You're driving through a busy city street in the early morning, the skyline glowing as the sun rises over skyscrapers. You glance around, noticing people rushing to work, coffee in hand, faces etched with worry or determination. Somewhere amid that flow, you start to wonder, how many of these people are truly in control of their minds? How many are reacting, following patterns formed years ago, instead of consciously choosing their path to success? This is the world your brain operates in daily, and it is ripe for rewiring. Take Marcus, a young entrepreneur in Seattle. He had launched several small businesses, yet none had scaled. Every setback felt like confirmation that he wasn't cut out for success. But during a mentorship session, a simple question changed everything. What story are you telling yourself about money and power? Suddenly, Marcus realized that he had been feeding his brain a narrative of limitation. His neural pathways were trained to notice obstacles, failures, and scarcity, rather than opportunities, growth, and abundance. The truth hit him. To create wealth and influence, he first had to rewrite the story in his mind. Rewriting that story begins with awareness. Every thought you entertain, every self-talk moment, is either reinforcing a pattern that serves you or one that limits you. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, your brain's remarkable ability to form new connections and pathways throughout life. It doesn't matter if you felt stuck for years. Your mind is capable of transformation. Marcus started small. He wrote down affirmations, visualized his business thriving daily, and mentally rehearsed negotiations before important meetings. Within weeks, his confidence surged, and he noticed opportunities he had previously ignored. His brain, rewired through intentional focus, began to seek success actively. Consider the power of environment in this process. Your brain is a sponge for context, cues, and patterns. If you spend time with people who doubt, complain, or fear growth, your mind absorbs those patterns, reinforcing limitation. Conversely, when you immerse yourself in environments that challenge, inspire, and elevate your thinking, your brain adapts to higher-level patterns of success. It's not magic, it's conditioning. The neural pathways that fire together, wire together. Marcus didn't just read motivational books. He surrounded himself with ambitious, solutions-focused peers who constantly push him to think bigger. His brain began to see possibilities as a default state, not scarcity. Let's bring this closer to a more relatable scenario. Imagine your morning routine. Most people wake up, scroll social media, react to notifications, and consume random content before even starting their day. This passive consumption sets a default mental state, often anxiety, distraction, or comparison, which primes your brain for reactive thinking. Rewiring requires intentional mental nutrition. Marcus replaced mindless scrolling with 5 minutes of visualization, 10 minutes of journaling, and one small, high-value action toward his goals. Over time, these small interventions rewired his mind to anticipate growth and reward initiative rather than fear failure. Another crucial tool in this rewiring journey is emotional anchoring. Our brains encode experiences not just through repetition, but through emotion. Think about a moment when you felt genuinely proud or accomplished. How vivid is it? That emotional intensity imprints deeply. Marcus learned to anchor positive emotions to deliberate actions, pitching a client, making tough decisions, or taking calculated risks. By tagging these moments with excitement, pride, and gratitude, his brain associated ambitious action with reward, creating a feedback loop that reinforced confident, high-value behavior. This doesn't just apply to work. It applies to relationships and personal growth. Your brain responds to social cues and the patterns of people around you. If your internal dialogue is fear-driven, you'll attract or notice people who confirm those beliefs. If you actively cultivate a mindset of abundance, intelligence, and capability, you naturally align with people who reflect those qualities. Marcus's social circle changed as his mind rewired. He no longer gravitated toward pessimistic colleagues or acquaintances who questioned his vision. Instead, he found mentors, collaborators, and friends who amplified his belief in possibility. Let's pause and explore a subtle but transformative concept: micro-decisions and habit loops. Every day, your brain makes thousands of micro-decisions: what to eat, what to say, how to react. Individually, they seem inconsequential, but cumulatively, they define the trajectory of your life. Marcus became intentional with these micro-decisions. He decided to say yes to challenges that scared him, even small ones, because each choice reinforced a neural pathway of courage and action. Each yes strengthened the belief: I am capable, I am resourceful, I can succeed. Your brain learns through repetition. Every conscious, empowered choice rewires your pathways for higher achievement. Here's another angle: language shapes thought. The words you choose to describe yourself and your circumstances literally shape the wiring in your brain. Instead of saying, "I can't manage this," Marcus trained himself to say, "I'm learning how to manage this effectively." Instead of "I'm unlucky," he replaced it with, "I'm building the skills and network that create luck." This subtle shift in language is a direct signal to your brain to form empowering connections, making you more resilient, strategic, and proactive. Marcus's transformation was instantaneous. It was a series of small, deliberate interventions over weeks and months. Yet the trajectory of his business and personal life changed dramatically. He went from reactive, anxious, and limited to proactive, confident, and opportunity-focused. And it all began with choosing to see his mind as malleable, capable of rewiring itself for wealth and power. Now, imagine if you applied these principles consistently. Start with awareness. Notice recurring thoughts that limit you. Introduce microactions that reinforce possibility. Anchor emotional positivity to deliberate effort. Reframe language to support growth rather than fear. Surround yourself with environments that elevate thinking. Each step compounds. Over time, the neural networks of your mind shift from scarcity and limitation to confidence, abundance, and strategic clarity. The brain is both the architect and the engine of your reality. By choosing to consciously guide it, you move from reacting to circumstances to designing your life, intentionally shaping outcomes that reflect your highest potential. Marcus's story is a proof point, but the truth is universal. Anyone willing to commit to rewiring their mind can achieve transformation. Your habits, thoughts, emotion, and focus are not fixed. They are the clay you sculpt daily. As you reflect on this, consider your own patterns. Which neural pathways are dominating your thinking? Are they reinforcing limitation or possibility? How often do you intentionally choose thoughts, actions, and emotions that move you toward wealth, power, and influence? The choices you make in these small, seemingly ordinary moments accumulate into a life that either empowers or confines you. The path forward requires vigilance, consistency, and courage, but it is entirely within your control. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts. Think back to a time when you faced a critical decision. Perhaps it was a job offer, a financial investment, or a personal opportunity that required courage. How did your mind respond? Did it buzz with excitement or chatter with doubt? That internal dialogue, sometimes subtle, sometimes loud, is the battleground where wealth and power are won or lost. The way you train your mind to respond in these moments defines the trajectory of your life. Let's take Alex, a software developer in Austin, Texas. Alex had talent, education, and ambition, but for years he remained trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. Every time a promotion or leadership opportunity appeared, he hesitated. Why? His brain had been wired to fear failure and doubt his own worth. This wiring was inherent. It had been reinforced over years by small but repeated messages, missed deadlines, harsh feedback, and his own internalized criticisms. Alex's mind had learned to protect him through limitation, keeping him in a comfort zone at the cost of potential. The first step Alex took toward change was introspection. He began journaling daily, not about what he did, but about how he thought and felt about his decisions. He asked himself questions like, when did I feel most capable today? When did I hold myself back? This simple practice forced his brain to recognize patterns, creating awareness of neural loops that had gone unnoticed. Awareness is a gateway to rewiring. The moment you notice your thought patterns, you gain the power to interrupt them intentionally. Next, Alex implemented mental rehearsal, a technique used by elite athletes and top executives alike. Before any challenging meeting or project, he visualized himself performing with clarity, confidence, and effectiveness. He imagined every detail, the room, the people, the questions, even the feeling of success afterward. His brain, unable to distinguish vivid visualization from reality, began reinforcing pathways of competence and courage. Within weeks, he noticed subtle changes. He spoke with authority, proposed bold ideas, and took calculated risks he had previously avoided. This wasn't luck. It was neural adaptation in action. Consider how your environment silently programs your brain. Every notification, conversation, and habit acts as input, shaping your beliefs and perceptions. Alex realized that his colleagues often discussed limitations and failures. While they weren't malicious, constant exposure to scarcity-focused thinking was reinforcing his own neural patterns of doubt. He made deliberate choices to curate his mental environment, podcasts with leaders who emphasize growth, books on success psychology, and mentors who challenge him to think bigger. Within months, his perception of possibility expanded dramatically. A critical piece of rewiring is emotional regulation. Your brain is wired to respond strongly to negative stimuli, threats, criticism, mistakes. Left unchecked, this can reinforce fear and hesitation. Alex practiced acknowledging negative emotions without letting them dictate action. If a client rejected a proposal, instead of ruminating, he asked, "What can I learn? How can this propel me forward?" By pairing challenges with curiosity rather than fear, he strengthened neural pathways associated with resilience, strategic thinking, and composure under pressure. Emotional mastery transforms your brain from a reactive organ into a powerful instrument of growth. Now, let's zoom out to a more familiar scenario. Your workplace, your home, your daily life. Think of the tiny, repeated actions that create either limitation or expansion. The coworker who always complains. The habit of checking your phone first thing in the morning. The mental loop of doubting your abilities before starting any task. Each one of these is a neural pattern. Left unchecked, they reinforce a life of constraints. But small, deliberate interventions, choosing your focus, framing challenges as opportunities, celebrating minor wins, begin to reshape the wiring of your brain. Alex also discovered the power of pattern interruption. Whenever he noticed himself spiraling into doubt or procrastination, he used a physical or mental cue to reset. Taking a walk, reciting a personal affirmation, or changing the task environment. These interruptions broke old neural loops and created space for constructive pathways to emerge. Over time, his brain started defaulting to confidence, initiative, and strategic thinking rather than hesitation and fear. Another transformative technique is anchoring success to sensory experience. Alex paired positive emotions with physical gestures, clenching his fist when completing a task, sitting upright when making a decision, or taking a deep breath while visualizing a positive outcome. These anchors not only reinforced neural pathways associated with achievement, but also created a subconscious trigger system that automatically primed him for success in high-stakes moments. One subtle but profound factor in rewiring for wealth and power is language precision. How you speak to yourself shapes your inner reality. Replace vague, limiting language like, "I can't handle this," with precise, action-oriented statements. "I will break this problem into steps and tackle them systematically." The brain responds to specificity. It strengthens connections that translate intention into action. Alex's language shift created clarity, reducing mental noise, and aligning thought with performance. As Alex's mind rewired, opportunities began to appear. Not magically, but as a natural consequence of aligned perception and action. His brain began noticing openings that were always there but previously invisible. The patterns of scarcity and limitation were replaced by pathways of creativity, strategic insight, and confident risk-taking. Each day reinforced the new wiring, like adding bricks to a foundation that would eventually support monumental achievements. Here's the key insight. Rewiring your brain is not about thinking positively in a shallow sense. It's about systematically creating neural patterns that embody wealth, power, and influence, aligning thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and environment. Each deliberate intervention, each visualization, each mental rehearsal, each micro-decision compounds. The mind, once trained, becomes your most formidable ally in designing the life you desire. As you reflect on Alex's journey, notice that the transformation isn't about external circumstances. It's about internal architecture. The same world exists for all of us, full of challenges and opportunities. What differentiates high achievers is how their brains interpret and respond to it. By intentionally shaping your neural pathways, by practicing focus, resilience, visualization, emotional mastery, and precise language, you gradually sculpt a mind that creates, seizes, and sustains wealth and power. Your brain is not a passive organ. It is an active, moldable instrument. Every thought you nurture, every environment you choose, every micro-decision you make reinforces the pathways that define your reality. Alex's story is a blueprint, a demonstration of what's possible when awareness meets intentional practice, when mental habits are consciously designed rather than left to autopilot. And so, the journey of rewiring begins not with grand gestures, but with consistent, deliberate mental choices. Each day offers an opportunity to strengthen the neural architecture of success, transforming doubt into confidence, hesitation into decisive action, and scarcity into abundance. Your focus determines your reality. Have you ever tried to work on a project, only to find yourself distracted by notifications, worries, or random thoughts. Maybe you've even felt frustrated with yourself, wondering why you can't concentrate, why you can't just think straight and make the progress you know you're capable of. The truth is, focus is not a skill you're born with. It's a neural habit you develop, and like any habit, it can be trained, strengthened, and optimized for wealth and power. Take Emma, a finance consultant in New York City. She was ambitious, driven, and highly skilled, yet despite long hours at work, her results plateaued. Her mind flitted from one task to another. Emails, meetings, client updates, social media, and she felt constantly busy but rarely effective. She realized her brain had been conditioned to react to stimuli, not directed intentionally. The pattern of distraction, once repeated daily, had solidified into neural circuits that made focused, productive work almost unnatural. Emma's breakthrough came when she embraced intentional focus training. She started by carving out blocks of uninterrupted time, 2 hours in the morning, when her mental energy was highest, for her most important tasks. During these sessions, she eliminated distractions. Phone on airplane mode, notifications off, and colleagues notified of her unavailability. This wasn't just about time management. It was about rewiring her brain to associate deep focus with action and achievement. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. The brain thrives on reward loops. Every time you successfully maintain focus and complete a meaningful task, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the neural pathways associated with sustained attention and achievement. Emma began tracking her progress meticulously, noticing even small wins, finishing a report early, crafting a pitch flawlessly, solving a complex problem. Each success strengthened her mind's ability to sustain focus, creating a positive feedback loop that expanded her mental capacity. But focus isn't just about eliminating distractions. It's also about choosing where to direct your mental energy. Emma realized that not all tasks were created equal. Some contributed directly to her long-term goals. Others were urgent but low value. By consciously prioritizing high-impact actions, she trained her brain to seek clarity and direction, rather than react randomly to noise. This shift in cognitive wiring, aligning attention with outcomes, was a game-changer for her career and financial growth. Let's consider a more relatable scenario. Your home, your desk, your workspace. Think about how many times you pick up your phone just for a second and 30 minutes later find yourself trapped in a loop of social media, emails, or irrelevant content. Your brain is being hijacked by stimuli designed to grab attention, not drive results. By creating intentional focus rituals, morning planning, mental rehearsal of priorities, and time blocking, you train the brain to filter noise and sharpen attention. Every repetition reinforces neural pathways of disciplined concentration. Another crucial element in focus mastery is energy management. Your brain cannot operate at peak performance continuously. It requires cycles of stimulation and recovery. Emma discovered that taking brief, purposeful breaks, walking outside, stretching, or even closing her eyes for 2 minutes, recharge her cognitive resources. Her brain began associating these micro-rest periods with restoration, making extended periods of deep focus more sustainable. This is a science of neural recovery, often overlooked but critical for high achievers. Now, let's explore the role of decision-making under focus. Every choice you make is a signal to your brain, shaping its wiring. Emma learned to pause before responding to emails, meetings, or requests, asking herself, does this align with my high-value goals? By consistently applying this filter, her brain reinforced pathways of strategic thinking, prioritization, and clarity, reducing mental clutter and increasing the efficiency of her actions. In essence, she trained her mind to seek opportunities that matter and disregard distractions that don't. Here's a subtle but powerful insight. Focus is contagious. When your brain becomes accustomed to sustained attention, it elevates the collective cognitive state of your environment. Emma noticed her colleagues unconsciously mirrored her productivity, inspired by her presence and efficiency. The neural wiring of focus is not isolated. It influences perception, collaboration, and social dynamics. By strengthening your attention, you not only enhance your personal performance, but also shape the environment around you to support high-level achievement. Let's tie this into wealth and power. The most successful individuals are not those who work the longest hours, but those who direct their mental energy with precision. They invest attention in high-value tasks, relationships, and decisions that yield exponential returns. Emma's financial growth accelerated not because she worked harder, but because her brain had been rewired to prioritize impact, maintain focus, and act decisively. Her productivity became exponential. Every focused hour multiplied the value of her work. Here's a practical exercise you can do today. Choose one high-impact task and dedicate 90 minutes of uninterrupted focus to it. Before starting, take a deep breath, visualize the successful completion of the task, and set a clear intention. Observe how your mind responds. Resist the urge to check your phone, emails, or notifications. Notice the clarity, flow, and sense of accomplishment that emerges. Each session of disciplined focus strengthens neural circuits, gradually transforming your mind into a powerhouse of wealth and strategic thinking. Another transformative tool is mental prioritization through visualization. Before you begin your day, mentally run through your top 3 priorities. Imagine yourself completing them successfully, navigating challenges smoothly, and feeling the satisfaction of accomplishment. The brain cannot distinguish vivid mental rehearsal from real-world execution. By repeatedly visualizing focused, strategic action, you prime your mind to respond with efficiency, confidence, and precision in reality. Focus also thrives on curiosity and intrinsic motivation. Emma noticed that tasks she approached with genuine interest, analyzing trends, solving client problems, creating innovative solutions, engage her brain more fully than tasks she approached out of obligation. This engagement strengthens neural pathways associated with attention, problem solving, and reward. Wealth and power aren't just about persistence. They're about deep, engaged, and directed focus on what truly matters. As you reflect on Emma's journey, understand this. Focus is not merely a skill. It's the foundation of your mental architecture for wealth, influence, and personal power. Each deliberate choice to concentrate, each strategic pause, and each visualization session compounds, creating neural structures that make sustained high-level achievement the natural default. Your brain, once trained, becomes an ally that automatically seeks clarity, prioritizes opportunities, and executes with precision. The story of focus is ultimately a story of control over your mental energy. The more intentional you become, the more your brain rewires itself to detect what matters, ignore what doesn't, and operate at peak efficiency. Emma's life transformed not because external circumstances changed immediately, but because her internal world, the very wiring of her brain, shifted dramatically. The same opportunity exists for you. By mastering attention, managing energy, and deliberately structuring mental habits, you create a mind that attracts wealth, power, and influence almost effortlessly. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are signals. Learn to read them, and they become your compass to success. Have you ever watched someone stay calm in a crisis, make a decisive move, and turn chaos into opportunity, and wondered, how do they do that? The answer lies in emotional intelligence, the ability to understand, manage, and strategically channel emotions. This is a skill, a form of neural wiring, and it's one of the most powerful predictors of wealth, influence, and personal power. Meet Jordan, a project manager in San Francisco. He was smart, skilled, and hardworking, but whenever unexpected challenges arose, tight deadlines, difficult clients, or internal conflict, he panicked. His decisions became reactive rather than strategic, and his potential for growth was limited by the neural wiring of fear, stress, and impulsive emotion. Like most of us, his brain had reinforced pathways that associated pressure with panic, creating a mental default of reaction instead of response. Jordan's transformation began when he committed to observing his emotions rather than suppressing them. Each time frustration or anxiety appeared, he paused and asked, "What is my brain trying to tell me? How can I use this feeling to my advantage?" This simple act of awareness rewired his mind. Emotions, once chaotic and overwhelming, became data points, signals guiding decision-making, energy allocation, and problem-solving. Consider a familiar situation. You're negotiating a deal at work. Your heart races, palms sweat, and your mind floods with what-if scenarios. Most people respond instinctively, either defensively, aggressively, or by freezing. But the brain of someone who has rewired emotional intelligence pauses, interprets, and respond strategically. They notice the fear, label it as anticipation rather than threat, and use it to heighten focus and performance. Jordan began practicing this with small daily exercises, such as mindful breathing before meetings and conscious reflection after challenging interactions. Over time, his neural circuits strengthened for emotional clarity and strategic response. One powerful tool Jordan adopted was emotional reframing. Whenever a stressful situation arose, he would ask, "What opportunity exists here? What lesson is hidden in this challenge?" By pairing stress with curiosity and problem solving, his brain rewired the association from fear to potential. Neural pathways that once triggered panic now initiated focus, creativity, and controlled action. The same stimulus, pressure, now produce results rather than paralysis. This principle applies across all aspects of life. Relationships, for instance, are often derailed by uncontrolled emotion. Think of arguments with a partner, miscommunication with colleagues, or conflict with friends. The brain wire for reactive emotion strengthens patterns of stress, resentment, and misunderstanding. But by observing and interpreting emotional signals before responding, you cultivate resilient neural pathways that foster patience, empathy, and influence. Jordan's personal life shifted dramatically when he applied this practice, transforming tension into understanding and conversation into collaboration. Another crucial factor is emotional anchoring for performance. Top athletes, CEOs, and leaders use specific sensory cues, breathing techniques, gestures, or visualization to trigger confidence and composure under pressure. Jordan implemented this in his professional life. Before presentations, he would recall a moment of triumph or success, feel the pride physically in his chest, and take a deliberate breath. His brain linked these sensory emotional cues with high performance, reinforcing pathways that allowed calm, confident action even in high-stress situations. Let's examine decision-making under pressure. Most people view stress as an enemy, something to avoid, but your brain can transform pressure into an ally. Jordan learned to see each high-pressure scenario as a controlled challenge, an opportunity to activate his most adaptive neural pathways. When a client unexpectedly changed a project scope, instead of panicking, he calmly analyzed resources, delegated efficiently, and negotiated timelines. His rewired brain processed high stakes as a signal for focused, strategic action, not fear-driven paralysis. This is where resilience enters the equation. Resilience is not simply bouncing back. It's anticipating, adapting, and leveraging stress to your advantage. The brain rewires resilience through repeated exposure to challenges with conscious processing. Jordan intentionally sought situations that pushed him slightly beyond his comfort zone, leading meetings he feared, negotiating contracts outside his usual expertise, presenting in front of executive boards. Each challenge strengthened the neural pathways of composure, courage, and adaptive intelligence. Over months, situations that once triggered panic now activated clarity, creativity, and decisive action. Another subtle but critical factor is emotional energy management. Your brain can only operate optimally if you balance stress, rest, and recovery. Jordan adopted daily routines that included mindfulness, light exercise, and reflection. This not only enhances focus and cognitive flexibility, but also reinforced neural circuits that associate sustained energy with strategic thinking, rather than exhaustion or anxiety. High performance isn't about pushing harder. It's about training your mind to operate efficiently under real-world conditions. Now, let's bring this closer to your life. Imagine a work scenario, a difficult negotiation, a critical presentation, or a personal conflict. Most people react to emotion. They raise their voice, withdraw, or act impulsively. But a brain rewired like Jordan's notices the emotion, labels it, assesses the opportunity, and responds intentionally. Every controlled response strengthens the underlying neural architecture, making future high-pressure situations easier to navigate. Emotional mastery compounds over time, creating a mind naturally attuned to wealth, influence, and personal power. Consider also the relationship between emotion and creativity. Fear, doubt, and self-criticism stifle innovation. Curiosity, calm, and confidence ignite it. Jordan began intentionally pairing challenging tasks with playful curiosity, experimenting with new solutions, brainstorming creatively, and embracing uncertainty. His brain rewired to associate challenge with potential, not threat. What had once been stressful became a catalyst for strategic insight and innovative thinking, a hallmark of high achievers and powerful minds. As you reflect on Jordan's journey, realize this. Wealth and power are not just product of intelligence or skill. They are products of emotional mastery and strategic neural wiring. Your brain can be trained to see opportunity instead of threat, to convert stress into focus, and to channel emotion into productive action. Each conscious choice, each deliberate pause, each mental rehearsal strengthens the architecture that supports high-level achievement. The path is clear. Observe your emotions, reframe challenges as opportunities, anchor confidence to sensory cues, seek slightly uncomfortable growth, and manage energy deliberately. Over time, your brain rewires itself to operate under pressure with clarity, creativity, and influence. This is the internal architecture of wealth and power. Opportunities don't happen to you. They are noticed, seized, and amplified by a mind trained to see them. Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to be in the right place at the right time, while others feel invisible to opportunity? It's not luck. It's not connections alone. It's the way their mind has been trained to perceive, evaluate, and act. The difference between passive observers and high achievers is the wiring of attention and decision-making in their brains. Take Liam, an investment analyst in Boston. He was diligent, intelligent, and respected by colleagues, yet he often watched others advance faster, land bigger deals, or get recognized for opportunities he felt he deserved. Frustration became a familiar companion. But one evening, after reflecting on his patterns, Liam had a revelation. He had been reacting to circumstances, not actively scanning for opportunities. His mind was wired to prioritize safety and predictability, not exploration and bold action. The first step in his transformation was conscious opportunity scanning. Each day, Leah began to train his mind to identify possibilities, potential client relationships, inefficiencies in processes, gaps in the market. He didn't just notice them. He evaluated their potential impact and mentally rehearsed steps to act. Neural pathways that had previously defaulted to observation and hesitation began rewiring toward analysis, initiative, and action. Over weeks, Liam began spotting openings that others missed, and opportunities started flowing in as a natural consequence as brains rewired attentional patterns. Consider a simple workplace example. Imagine two employees noticing the same challenge. A client is dissatisfied, a project is behind schedule, or a competitor is innovating. Employee A reacts emotionally, stressing, complaining, or avoiding responsibility. Employee B, with a mind trained like Liam's, sees it as a chance to innovate, improve, or lead. That shift, from reacting to strategically perceiving opportunity, is what differentiates growth from stagnation. Neural wiring, once adjusted, makes this the default response. Another key element of opportunity mastery is pattern recognition. Your brain is naturally wired to detect repetition, predict outcomes, and anticipate trends. Liam began consciously feeding it high-quality information, market data, business strategies, behavioral psychology insights. He paired this with reflective practice, analyzing patterns in successes and failures. His brain began constructing predictive models, almost automatically flagging opportunities and risks before others even notice them. This is a mental edge of high achievers, not luck, but trained perceptual lens powered by rewired neural circuits. Decision-making is the next critical layer. Spotting an opportunity is one thing. Acting on it decisively is another. Liam realized that hesitation often sabotaged potential. To rewire this, he practiced incremental risk-taking. Small, calculated decisions, pitching an innovative proposal, initiating a client conversation, or volunteering for a leadership role, train his brain to associate action with reward. Each successful decision reinforced confidence pathways, and even setbacks became data for refinement rather than triggers for fear. Over time, his mind defaulted to proactive, strategic choice rather than reactive avoidance. Let's apply this to a relatable scenario. Your own career, your own ventures, your own ambitions. Think of the moments you notice potential, an untapped client, a chance to lead a project, a new idea for income, but hesitate. That hesitation is your brain operating on old wiring, prioritizing comfort over calculated opportunity. Rewiring requires deliberate action, consciously evaluating the potential, imagining positive outcomes, planning the first step and following through. The more you repeat this process, the more your neural architecture aligns with initiative, foresight, and strategic execution. Another transformative approach Liam adopted was mental simulations of high-stakes outcomes. Before making significant decisions, he visualized scenarios: success, partial success, and manageable setbacks. By mentally rehearsing these outcomes, his brain adapted to pressure, uncertainty, and risk without panic. This form of mental preparation rewires pathways associated with confidence, adaptability, and decisive thinking. What once felt overwhelming became structured, actionable, and achievable. Opportunity recognition also thrives on curiosity and learning orientation. Liam's rewired brain constantly asked, "Why does this pattern exist? How can I leverage this trend? What can I do differently that others aren't seeing?" This mindset turned mundane observations into strategic insights. Wealth and influence are not about being the smartest in the room. They are about being the most perceptive, most prepared, and most willing to act. Neural wiring that favors curiosity over fear enables this transformation. Consider the compounding effect. Every action taken in alignment with perceived opportunity reinforces attention, pattern recognition, and confidence. Each small success strengthens the default response of your brain. Seek growth, embrace calculated risk, and act decisively. Liam's trajectory changed not because he found a single big break, but because his mind became a machine for spotting and seizing multiple small and medium-sized openings that accumulated into exponential results. Let's connect this to relationships. High achievers leverage social dynamics strategically. Liam trained his brain to detect collaborative opportunities, mentorship possibilities, and alliances. This meant noticing colleague strengths, aligning mutual goals, and creating value for others while pursuing his objectives. Neural wiring that reinforces opportunity perception naturally extends to social intelligence. You see openings where collaboration and influence can create exponential impact. Finally, the mental habit that underpins all of this is reflective evaluation. At the end of each day, Liam reflected on opportunities he noticed, decisions he made, and outcomes achieved. His brain reinforced a feedback loop: perception, action, outcome, reflection. Each iteration rewired the pathways of attention, strategic analysis, and confidence, making future opportunities more visible and responses more effective. This is the essence of a brain wired for wealth and power. Focus attention on opportunity, confident decision-making, strategic action, and reflective refinement. Your mind, once conditioned for possibility and decisive response, begins to operate as a magnet for success. Opportunities that seemed hidden before become visible, actionable, and attainable. The world doesn't change, you do. Your brain does. As you reflect on Liam's journey, recognize this. Opportunity is abundant, but only a mind trained to perceive, evaluate, and act will capture it. Neural pathways determine perception. Perception guides action. Action generates results. By rewiring your brain to prioritize awareness, pattern recognition, strategic decision-making, and reflection, you align your mind with exponential growth, influence, and wealth. Excellence is not an act. It's a habit. And the mind that masters habits masters life. Think about someone you know who seems unstoppable. Maybe it's a CEO, an athlete, or a creative visionary. They aren't extraordinary because of one moment of brilliance. They are extraordinary because their daily habits have been wired into their brain over years. The mind learns through repetition. Every thought, every action, every choice you make strengthens neural pathways that either reinforce growth or limit it. Habits are the building blocks of wealth, influence, and personal power. Meet Sophia, a tech entrepreneur in Los Angeles. She had big ideas but struggled to execute consistently. She worked late nights, juggled projects, and often felt exhausted yet unfulfilled. Sophia realized that her mind had been wired for reaction, not structure. She reacted to emails, deadlines, and external pressures, but her most important goals, the ones that could generate wealth and influence, were constantly delayed or neglected. Neural patterns that favored urgency over importance were holding her back. Her transformation began when she implemented intentional habit design. Every morning, Sophia followed a precise routine: meditation to center her mind, visualization of her key goals, and a focused work session on the highest impact tasks of the day. Over time, her brain began to associate this ritual with clarity, focus, and achievement. What was once optional or inconsistent became automatic neural wiring for success. Let's break this down. Habits are essentially neural shortcuts. The more behavior is repeated, the stronger the pathway becomes. If you consistently procrastinate, your brain strengthens avoidance pathways. If you consistently take strategic action, your brain strengthens pathways of initiative and competence. Sophia leveraged this principle by pairing small, consistent actions with immediate positive feedback, a check mark in her journal, a short reflection on progress, or celebrating a mini victory. Each repetition rewired her brain to favor growth-oriented behavior. Consider a relatable example. You want to increase your productivity at work. Most people rely on motivation alone, a fluctuating and unreliable source. Sophia didn't. She built structured habits, a clear morning routine, prioritized daily tasks, scheduled reflection sessions, and a system for reducing distractions. By doing so, she rewired her brain to default to productivity. So progress became inevitable rather than optional. Another critical component is habit stacking with neural triggers. Sophia connected new, productive behaviors to existing routines. For instance, after brushing her teeth each morning, she immediately reviewed her top 3 priorities for the day. The old habit of brushing teeth became the trigger for a high-performance mindset. Neural pathways are strengthened when a new behavior is consistently linked to a familiar cue. Over weeks, the simple strategy transformed small actions into powerful automatic responses. Sophia also embraced compound microactions. She recognized that massive change doesn't require massive effort, but rather small, consistent actions executed over time. A single hour of focused work, repeated daily, compounds into months of progress. Writing 300 words daily becomes a book. Pitching one client weekly becomes a portfolio of opportunities. Reviewing your finances for 15 minutes daily becomes financial mastery. Each microaction strengthens neural pathways that make taking the next positive step easier and more natural. Now, let's talk about habit reinforcement through emotion. Sophia didn't just perform actions. She paired them with feelings of accomplishment, pride, and excitement. Her brain, wired for emotional reward, began associating success with pleasure and engagement. Tasks that once felt like chores became opportunities for fulfillment. Neural pathways connecting effort to reward were strengthened, creating a self-sustaining cycle. Action leads to feeling. Feeling reinforces action. Action compounds results. An often overlooked element in habit mastery is environmental design. Sophia structured her workspace to minimize distractions and maximize focus. She removed notifications, created a dedicated area for deep work, and surrounded herself with visual reminders of goals and values. Your brain responds to context. Neural wiring strengthens when cues consistently align with desired behaviors. A well-designed environment makes it easier to act in alignment with your ambitions. Habit mastery also requires strategic consistency. Sophia didn't aim for perfection. She aimed for steady, reliable execution. Even when tired, distracted, or emotionally challenged, she performed her core routines in a scaled-down form. This consistency reinforced neural pathways that prioritize action over excuses, resilience over surrender, and long-term impact over short-term comfort. Let's bring this closer to you. Consider the habits that dominate your life. Your morning routine, how you handle emails, how you approach learning, exercise, or financial decisions. Which ones reinforce growth? Which ones reinforce limitation? By consciously choosing keystone habits, those that trigger cascading positive effects, you can rewire your brain to operate naturally at high levels of focus, productivity, and strategic thinking. Sophia's success was an anomaly. It was a predictable outcome of intentional habit formation aligned with her goals. Finally, recognize the power of reflective feedback. Each evening, Sophia reviewed her day, noting what worked, what could improve, and what she learned. Reflection closes a loop for neural reinforcement, ensuring that your brain not only repeats actions but refines them for maximum effectiveness. Neural pathways for insight, adaptability, and strategic improvement are strengthened, creating a mind that grows smarter and more effective each day. As you reflect on Sophia's journey, understand this. Wealth, influence, and personal power are not just results of talent or intelligence. They are results of neural wiring shaped by habits, repetition, emotional reinforcement, and deliberate environmental cues. Every small, consistent action compounds into a structure that supports extraordinary outcomes. The mind that masters habits becomes unstoppable. The story of habit mastery is also the story of agency and choice. Every decision, every repetition, every reflection is an opportunity to strengthen pathways that favor growth. Sophia's brain became an ally, automatically seeking productivity, opportunity, and high-value actions. Your brain can do the same. Every micro-action today builds a neural foundation for exponential wealth and power tomorrow. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Build wisely, and your life becomes a masterpiece. Imagine standing at the summit of a mountain at sunrise, the world stretched out below, endless possibilities shimmering in the distance. This is what life feels like when your brain has been intentionally rewired for wealth, power, and influence. Every neural pathway has been trained to notice opportunity, to act decisively, to focus relentlessly, and to transform emotion into strategy. The landscape of your life is no longer dictated by circumstances. It is designed by your mind. Meet the culmination of all our stories: Marcus, Alex, Emma, Jordan, Liam, and Sophia, the individuals who, in different cities, different industries, and different challenges, all learn the same truth. Wealth and power are a product of deliberate mental architecture. They rewired their brains through awareness, visualization, emotional mastery, opportunity recognition, focus, and habit formation. Now imagine that this is your journey, and the same principles are yours to apply. At this stage, the brain is no longer a reactive organ. It is an engine of strategy, clarity, and creation. Neural pathways have been reinforced for confidence, initiative, and resilience. Emotional intelligence guides decisions rather than hinders them. Focus is sustained, habits are automatic, and opportunities are instantly recognized and acted upon. Your mind has become a compass and a catalyst, shaping outcomes with precision. Consider wealth. True wealth is not just financial. It is the accumulation of knowledge, skill, relationships, and influence. A brain rewired for wealth constantly scans for avenues of value creation. It evaluates risk with clarity, seizes opportunities with confidence, and leverages resources strategically. Liam's ability to recognize opportunities, Emma's mastery of focus, and Sophia's disciplined habits all converge into a mental framework that makes wealth generation inevitable, not accidental. Power, too, is a natural extension of a rewired brain. Power is not domination. It is influence, respect, and the ability to enact meaningful change. Jordan's emotional mastery ensures that pressure is converted into composure and insight. Marcus's neural rewiring has shifted his perception from limitation to possibility. Combined, these cognitive and emotional structures allow for decision-making that inspires, persuades, and drives outcomes. Power flows naturally when your mind consistently operates at this elevated level. But here's the secret. This architecture is not static. It is a living system. Every day, your thoughts, actions, and habits continue to strengthen or weaken these pathways. The mind you cultivate today shapes the opportunities, wealth, and influence you experience tomorrow. Neural wiring is not a one-time fix. It is a lifetime practice, a dynamic system constantly evolving through experience, reflection, and deliberate action. To sustain this mental architecture, integrate three core principles: continuous learning and adaptation. The world changes constantly. The brain must adapt. Feed it with knowledge, challenge it with novel problems, and refine strategies based on experience. Neuroplasticity thrives when curiosity and deliberate practice are combined. Emotional agility. Challenges will arise. The mind must maintain calm, clarity, and resilience under pressure. Emotional intelligence, once developed, must be exercised daily to remain sharp. Use emotions as signals, not chains. Consistent, high-value action. Habits, routines, and disciplined execution are the scaffolding of your neural architecture. Without daily reinforcement, even the most well-wired brain loses strength. Micro-actions compound into monumental results over time. Let's imagine a practical scenario. You identify a new business venture. Your brain, Trained through opportunity recognition, immediately spots potential, evaluates risks, and visualizes strategies. Emotional mastery ensures you remain calm under uncertainty. Focus and habits allow you to execute the plan efficiently. Daily reflection fine-tunes decisions. Over months, your consistent action compounds into measurable results, financial gain, influence, and personal growth. This is the mechanical beauty of a rewired mind. Now, think of your relationships. Influence flows naturally when your brain is tuned to understand emotions, recognize opportunities for collaboration, and act with clarity and empathy. A rewired brain doesn't manipulate. It aligns mutual value. Networks grow, partnerships strengthen, and your capacity to impact others multiplies. Wealth and power are amplified through strategic, emotionally intelligent engagement. The final truth is this: your brain is the most valuable asset you possess. Time, education, money, they can all be replenished. But the structure, wiring, and resilience of your mind determine how effectively these resources are used. Rewiring is the ultimate leverage. It multiplies everything you do, shapes every decision, and determines every outcome. As you absorb this, visualize the person you want to become. See your mind as a sculptor's clay, each thought, habit, and emotion shaping the contours of your reality. Picture opportunities, wealth, and influence flowing naturally from your choices. Your mind, once rewired, becomes both the blueprint and the engine for a life of achievement. Remember, this journey is continuous. Challenges will arise, distractions will tempt, and old neural patterns may attempt to resurface. But with awareness, focus, emotional mastery, habit discipline, and opportunity scanning, you hold the power to reclaim control and sustain the architecture of success. The mind you train today defines the life you experience tomorrow. In the end, wealth and power are not gift bestowed. They are outcomes earned by the intentional shaping of the mind. The stories of Marcus, Alex, Emma, Jordan, Liam, and Sophia are proof that neural architecture is malleable, resilient, and capable of extraordinary transformation. Your brain can be trained to perceive possibilities where others see limits, act decisively where others hesitate, and maintain clarity where others falter. This is the essence of rewiring your brain for wealth and power: awareness, deliberate practice, emotional mastery, focused action, opportunity recognition, habit formation, and continuous refinement. Implement these principles consistently, and your mind becomes an unstoppable force, guiding you toward influence, abundance, and the life you are destined to create. Your brain is the architect. Your life is the masterpiece. You've now completed the journey of rewiring your brain for wealth and power. Think of your mind as a living engine. Every thought, every habit, every choice, every action shaping the reality you experience. The stories, strategies, and insights you've heard aren't theoretical. They are practical tools that, when applied consistently, transform ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Remember, wealth and power are not granted. They are cultivated, built one thought, one decision, one deliberate action at a time. Your brain is the architect. Your habits are the scaffolding. Your focus and emotional mastery are the fuel. So listen closely to your own thoughts. Take control of your environment. Embrace challenges as opportunities. Build habits that reinforce growth. And above all, trust in the power of your mind to create the life you truly deserve. Thank you for listening. If you take these principles to heart and apply them with consistency, your life will never be the same. Your mind is ready. The world is waiting. Go create your masterpiece.